Today we are going to paint a football. We've got football parties, Super Bowl parties, all kind of football parties coming up. So not everybody's gonna love watching the game. So we're gonna paint. We're gonna learn to paint, and maybe you want to do this during your party for some of your younger people, some other people who really aren't into the game but want to be there for the party. So let's get started. I have this is an 8x10 canvas panel. All I did was squirt out some raw sienna, some blue, and some white, and I just smeared it together. And we have a nice background here that's going to work for us. Now, I have these smaller paints. I bought these in a set. You can look back at the video that I did reviewing a product review on this set. And we're just going to put these out. And I'm using all the yellows, the browns, the blues, and the greens. And I've got some white. But these tubes have such a little bit in them that I don't know if this will be enough white even for today. I have used this white several times, but there's just not much in these tubes. So I have a bigger tube of white. Okay, the brushes that I'm going to be using today are, this is a natural bristle brush, and it's really good for putting on your backgrounds. These are both synthetic flat brushes, and they have a soft grip handle. I love the brush part. I like a longer handle, but at any rate, before you start, you always tap your brush in the water. Tap it off on paper towel. It needs to be damp, moist, but no dripping or anything on there. Okay, so we're going to do the sky first. So I'm going to pull some blue over here. I never just pick up that and put it on here. I'm always mixing it with something else, adding a little white to see what I have. There we go. I don't mix it up completely. It's going to get mixed up a lot more as it gets painted. So we're just gonna, yeah, it's too dark. I'm gonna put some more white in there. There we go. We're just gonna throw this on here. And as it comes down, it's gonna get lighter. That helps with the distance perspective of it. Now, you don't want to stripe where here and here. You put your brush over where the two parts meet, and it will blend together. Okay, there we go. Now we're going to add some more white to our blue out here on the edge, not trying to change this whole pile of paint. We're going to pick up that and come down. I'm pushing it into the weave of the canvas. So you're not going to see that green. It just prevents the white from being from showing up, because that's what happens. The white little dots of the canvas don't get enough paint on them, and then that little white piece shows up and your eye just goes straight to it. Okay, see this dark part here? I would never blend that away. To me, that gives me better distance for my sky. Okay, I'm coming down about 2/3. You don't want your horizon line in the middle of your artwork. I'm rinsing out my brush, and then you don't leave the paint in the brush, because it's acrylic paint. It dries fast, and once it dries on here, it's very hard to get it off. You also don't leave it in the water, because it loosens the glue between here, the ferrule here, and the handle, and then this part comes off, gets loose, whatever. It's there's no real way to tighten it back up. Okay, so now I'm still using that same brush. I'm picking up some green. I'm pulling it off. I'm I'm going to add some white to that. When you add white, it makes it opaque. I'm just putting a little bit of that in there, and maybe even some of this yellow. There we go. Okay, so now the grass works the same as the sky. It's darker back here. And as it comes forward, it gets lighter. Now, when you add white, it's gonna cool off any color. So I'm gonna add some yellow back in there to warm it back up. Oh yeah, okay. So now here, again, you don't want these stripes from here to here. So you put your brush over the middle and you bring it forward like that. And so we're just gonna keep bringing, I'm working out here on the edge now. There we go. Okay, now here comes the fun part. I could go back and pick up some more of this darker green and put that in there and then push it back here. Now, what you're gonna do is you're just gonna touch your brush and flick it. And that makes something that looks like grass. You're gonna have a big football sitting here. So you want some grass in the background. A lot of this is not gonna be seen, but because the football's gonna be there, but you wanna do it anyway, because you never know. And it's just fun practice. Okay, so now we're just gonna come in here with more paint, and just in different places, we're just gonna flick it up. Flick, flick, flick. I'm gonna add some more light colors to that. Again, it lost its warmness. So I'm coming in here like this, and I'm just gonna flick it up. See how cool that is? Just flicking. I'm touching and flick. Back here where it's not so light, you're gonna see it, but naturally it's not gonna be as light as this in here. And you don't want it to be. Just gonna do this all the way across. We're gonna put our football in, and we're gonna seat that football. I like a few little places where it's hotter. I don't want it to all be the same color, okay? So we're gonna rinse our brush, gonna let this dry, and then we're gonna come back and put our football in. Okay, we are going to use soft vine charcoal, and we are going to draw the football in here now. And you have to kind of decide how big you want your football. I want mine big. I want it to start over about here and end over about here. I want it to come up above that grass. Now, footballs are oval, sort of, but they have kind of a squared off end where those seams all come together. So I'm gonna start here. I gave myself 2 points right there and right here. I'm going to bring it up. There, I like that better. And now it's kind of squared off there and there. And now I'm going to bring it down. There, hopefully you can see the line. Okay, it's a little flat right here. There, that looks better. Okay, I'm going to take my synthetic flat. I'm tapping it in the water, tapping it off on the paper towel. I'm going to pick up my darkest brown. I'm going to put it over here with the blue. I'm going to add some more blue to it. I want it darker than it is. There, see how nice that looks right there? Okay, so I'm going to come in here like this. Now, I don't want to do this because it leaves that roll of paint. If you do that, then you need to pull that away. You may have to go over this football twice. The bottom part is going to be darker than the top. Okay, so see, I'm making that roll of paint. If it dries like that, I'll never be able to get that out. So it needs to, and it needs to come this way. You need to use your brush to shape your item. More blue, more brown. See, the green is showing through, which is why I said you'll probably have to cover it twice. I want to get a little bit of that square on the end right there where all the seams of the football come together. Don't be cheap with your paint, okay? You've got paint. Don't be cheap with it. Use it. Okay, he's not square enough there on the end for me. Needs to be a little square for it to really look like a football. Still not very square, but maybe if I use a smaller brush. Let's get that squared off a little bit. You hear geese? There we go. That looks better. Okay, yep, that looks much better. This side looks pretty good already. This is where you can shape your football. Okay, so now we're going to have our light coming from here. Usually, I take my soft bind charcoal and I draw myself an arrow. And it reminds me, yes, I've been painting for 20 years and I still do it. I put the arrow here, my light's coming from here, so this side of my football is going to be lighter. Down here's where the dark part's going to be. There'll be some out here on the edge, but there won't be very much, if any, light from the middle on down, because this is a 3D item, and so this part in here is actually sticking out, so it's going to pick up some light also. Okay, so I'm going to pick up some of this medium shade. I'm going to pull it out here on the edge. Now, we are working with acrylic paint. As it dries, it gets duller and darker. Adding a little white in there. And again, it got cooler. I don't want it cooler, so I'm going to add back some of this to warm that back up. You need the white for the opaqueness. I'm barely touching that football, okay? I'm way back on the brush, and I'm just barely skimming that football. As this football dries, I know you're thinking, oh my gosh, that's so bright. That will blend right away. It will dry out a much duller color. I did this once before, and my sound was not on. So this was the original one I did. And this here was much brighter. And as it dried, it got duller and duller, but I already had all this in, so I could have gotten it lighter, but then when I realized my sound was not good, well, that was sort of pointless to fix that. I thought I dripped a little bit of water on there. If you do that, you can take your paper towel and just dab it up a little bit, okay? Because it's very easy to happen. We're just going to let this dry, and we're going to come back in a few minutes and highlight it again. Okay, I brought out my trusty hairdryer to dry off the painting. You're not cheating. It's perfectly fine to do that. Okay, I'm still using this wider brush. You can see how much duller that got. Okay, so I'm going to pull off some of this over here, that medium brown. I'm going to add this to it out here on the edge. I'm going to add some white to it. And a little bit more of this there. Okay, now we're going to, anytime you're trying to give something form, which is basically everything you're painting, you want a minimum of 3 values. Here in the sky, you can see the number of values coming down. Same thing with the grass. It's got a lot of values. There's at least 3 to 4 values there. So when you're trying to give something form, you need more than 1 value in order to do that. So here comes more highlight over here. I know you're saying, oh my gosh, that's so bright. It'll be okay. We're going to put a little bit in here. Come down just so it's not a harsh line that says this is the half of the football. Now this part sticks out and then it comes back in. So naturally, this part is not going to get nearly as much light as that part. Now this part back here, let's add just a touch of the darker. See, here's the darkest brown. This is the medium brown. Okay, so I'm going to add just a little bit of that medium brown back in here. I'm going to get out my smaller brush and blend that in a little bit. There. I'm going to put also some right up in here. There. Okay. Now again, we're going to put the seams in, and so part of that is going to be hidden, sort of. And when I talk, we're going to put these dark seams in, okay, so that will counteract some of that. But as this dries, it again is going to get darker. It may need one more pass right through here. Now if I did it right now, if I took some of these and some of that, this paint is wet. If I put that lighter shade up on the top, now you're really seeing where the light's hitting it. Let's just, oh, I like that. Okay, let's just stop there and we'll hit it with a dryer again. And maybe we'll be ready to put our seams in the football when we get back. Okay, so you have to kind of think this out. We want the stitching to be up here, so it needs to be over top of a seam. So we're going to put a seam here and a seam down around about here. Okay, I'm going to use my smallest synthetic bristle, tapping it off on the water, tapping it off on the paper towel. I need some dark paint. So here comes some blue. Here comes this blue here, and here comes this dark brown. Now, I do have black. It's sitting right here. I seldom use black, but in a situation like this, that's all I'm going to pull out, is that tiny little bit of black that you can barely see in the camera. Okay, so I'm just going to pick up a little bit of that and add that. There we go. We just need a little bit. Okay, whoops, sorry. Here comes, I'm going to start over here on not quite the edge. Very light pressure. Come all the way across here. Pick up a little more paint because I don't want to run out midstream. Now here comes this one. Okay, we've got our seams for our football in. I'm liking what I got. Now, I just want to point something out. There are some little places here where it's not exactly smooth, and that's perfectly fine. There, right in here. It's not perfectly smooth. It's leather being stitched together. There's going to be a few little puckers and things like that, so don't worry about that. Now, this is a round sable brush. Tapping it off in the water, tapping it off on the paper towel. I'm pulling off this white. Now, I never use just white by itself because it's chalky. So I'm going to pick up just a little bit of that blue, see if it's too dry maybe. Let's pick up a little bit of that blue, a little more white. There we go. We can always give it 2 shades or so. Now, I'm not a football aficionado, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, but I counted the stitches I put in the other football, and so we're going to go with that. And we're going to put 7. There are more on one end than the other, and over here they're going to have a little curve, come over that seam and back down. Over the seam, it's got a little curve, and back down. There should be enough for your 5 fingers, well, 4 fingers and a thumb to get through there. So maybe we don't need 7, maybe we just need, let's see here. As they come towards the center, they get a little straighter because you're looking more straight on them. Okay, so you can put 1 finger, 2 finger, 3. So we need at least 1 more, and I think actually 2 more. Just picking up more paint, and here comes number. There we go. Okay, so now let's look at that kind of close. I love what's going on there. I love all the variations on the football. That's what gives it depth. And I love the variations of the color right there on how that light would be hitting that football and giving it a different perspective. Okay, I'm going to start with my same natural bristle brush that we did the sky and all that grass with. And we're going to pick up some more green. We're going to add some yellow to that. And we're going to come in along in here and we're going to put in some more. So yeah, we lost what we had, but that's okay. And now I'm going to put some more yellow out over here, maybe a little bit of that green, little the white, and some more of that yellow. There we go. We're going to highlight right in here. Oh yeah, I call that a jewel of light, to where your eye goes right to it. Now we're just going to flick again. We're going to seat that football down into the grass. It's sitting there. Down into that grass. And we're going to come along and do it again, maybe a little different shade right in here. You're just touching and flicking. Don't try to make grass, just touch it and flick it and see what you get. Okay, I'm going to add some more dark because I kind of lost all my dark in there. I'm just touching and flicking in a few places, so the grass is not all one shade. I'm going to pick up some more of this white. There we go. Woo! I'm loving what I'm seeing. Now I'm going to pick up a script liner. This is, some people call them a rigger. I call them a script liner. And I'm going to come over here in this green, yellow mishmash I got going on there. When you're working also make sure that when you're taking your brush over your painting, you're not dripping water on it. So there we go. This should be, anytime you're working with a brush like this, the paint should be more like ink and less like paint. Okay, so we're going to just come in here. I'm way back on the brush. My hand is way back on that brush. I'm just giving it some taller pieces of grass here. Somebody threw that football and it landed in the grass. Now you want them to cross. You don't want to line them up like little soldiers. More water on my brush. Make sure you don't drip it on your painting. I've only done that about 100 times. There's nothing you can't do that I haven't already. You can't screw up anything that I haven't already screwed up, okay? So I'm just putting in some tall grasses here. And you'll notice it's all from right here on my, it's right there, okay? You want some to go in one direction, some to go in another direction. Don't think about it. Don't overthink this. Very light pressure. There we go. Okay, we can come back with some of this, the lightest of the browns, and maybe even put some of that on the edges of the grasses. As if it were seed pods. Okay, it's just sitting in there. That's totally up to you. Now, you can, if you wanted to, you could paint goalposts back here. You could put a pennant with your team's colors. You can totally make this your own. Paint it the color of your team if you wanted to. Just remember, you need these values to give it that rounded look of an actual football. Okay? Have a wonderful time. I hope that you've had some snacks, that you're enjoying the commercials. If you're not enjoying the game, I'm hoping that you're having a great time with your friends and family anyway. So thank you so much for being here. If you've enjoyed this, you know what to do. Give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. I post weekly new tutorials, and I've got something really exciting coming up very soon that I think many of you are going to want to see. So at any rate, thank you so much for being here. My website is www.paintingwithacrylics101.com. I have another free class on there. I have a free blog that is loaded up with beginners, information for beginning artists, and tutorials, hints, tips, tricks. So get on over there to www.paintingwithacrylics101.com and see what we have to offer. And I can't wait to see you. Have a great day. Go team. So you can see as the football has dried, we thought we had some really bright, harsh colors there, but we really don't. It looks really, really good. It looks very three-dimensional, and you get that because we've made the 3D in the sky, we've made the 3D in the grass, we've got many values in the football, and we've seeded that football down into the grass. Now, I can take a little piece of paper towel. I'm going to take on this corner, squirt it with a little bit of water, and I'm going to take off my arrow. Now, you can't do that with a pencil or anything. Soft vine, V-I-N-E, charcoal. You can draw on here and it will come off. If you draw on there with a pencil, the line, it's always going to give an indentation. You're always going to be able to see that. So I really highly recommend that you use the soft vine charcoal as you're drawing. And that, you can buy a pack of that. There's like 10 sticks in a thing, in a package, and it's $2.99. It's been $2.99 for 20 years. So at any rate, I would really get that.